Hello guys, and how are you? My name is Muhindu Bar and I welcome you to our 17th lecture of learning how to make mobile applications using Flutter. In the previous lecture we looked at different things of how to implement the local database, and we are making a diary application. So in this lecture we are going to see how you can create an account on the local database and how you can log in on the local database. So it's not like how things really do exactly in the real world, but by practicing like this, because in real world the local database always be online, but by practicing these things and being able to do any kind of idea that you want, like the way we're doing right now, it will give you a good grasp of how to implement the local databases. So without taking much time, let's go straight into our today's business and resume from how I stopped at in the previous lecture. So this is our app, and you can see it has already launched. So we are creating this diary application. When you open to show like that, and then decide if you're not logged in, it will take you to the login screen. If you don't have an account, just simply click on register. It will take you to the registration screen. So let's go ahead and now implement what we had started. So in this registration screen, we're saying that you're going to need a model. So a model is a kind of a data structure or a structure that will help to put our related variables, for example, variables about a user, into some kind of one container, whereby if you want to access the data about that particular item of that structure, you just simply call it, or using variable. One is using a single variable. So you can see we have a special folder called models. This folder, it is where we are putting all our data structures that are going to be implementing the application. So you can see we've already put other different data structures, but right now we've just created a brand new structure called user models. So in this user models, we're going to put all the logic that is related about the user, how to save the user in the database, to retrieve the user from the database, to delete the user, etc. We're going to put all of them here, so that our code should be organized, not like we want about maybe saving a user, you go somewhere elsewhere that you don't know. You want maybe to retrieve users from the database, you go somewhere else. So doing the code in that way, it can become confusing. So everything that's about the user, most things that will be about the user, they're going to be here in this class, or what we've called the user model. So without wasting much time, right now we're going to create collect the form. We're going to create the data from this form. All right. So before we even create the data from this form, we may first need to test a few things. Other than again first creating filling the form every time, we may first test a few things without repeating ourselves. For example, we may need to test, can this save in the local database? Can we retrieve users from the local database? Some things like that. Then after, we go ahead and implement now the real form. Okay, so on this button of register, I'm going to go on top of it and create a temporary instance of this class, and that instance is the one that you're going to use to play with. And once we are sure that okay, it can save in the database, it can retrieve data, it can do everything clearly, then we'll go ahead and integrate it with the user interface. Okay, so let's go ahead, let's copy this model class name and then go to our registration screen. Okay, registration screen. So the button on registration screen is here. So when someone clicks on register, it will call this on press the registration screen. So here I'm just going to return. So return means that the logic should stop from here. Nothing should happen after here. So I'm not validating, I'm not doing anything. I'm just simply on top of this button and I'm returning. So it means that if someone clicks here, let me compile. If someone clicks here, nothing is going to happen. It's not going to validate, it's not going to do anything, because we are just returning from here. So let's go ahead and create our model, an instance of our model. So I can just simply say the model name, and then we say maybe new user. So I can press here Alt and Enter to import. Let me first disable copilot. Alright, so it's just this model, user model, press Alt and Enter so it can import it. It is here. So it's going to be equals to new user model. You can, by the way, that you don't need new these days. You can just simply say like this, user model. So after doing like that, I'm going to initialize this user model with some few things. I'm going to give it a first name and a last name that we're going to use to demonstrate with. I mean a first name and a password. So it just simply say user. I can just simply say new user or anything that you want. Then put dot what? Dot name equals to Mohindo Mubarak. I say that I love myself. Alright, so this is the first name, Mohindo Mubarak. So I'll go ahead and say user dot what? Dot password. Password equals to 1234. Okay, now that is simply the data that you need. However, you can add as much variables as you want. So alright, after doing that, we're going to now write the logic of saving this user on the local database. Remember, you're registering. This is the new person. You want to save them on the what? On the register of users. Okay, so here I'm just simply going to say user dot what? Dot save. But if I say dot save, remember we have not written a what? A function that does the logic of saving. Okay, so we're going to go to this user model and write that function that is going to do the logic of saving that user to the local database. So I'll press Ctrl and click on that model, then it will take me to the model itself, and then I just simply put the function name. Alright, then I open the bracket and then I put a curly bracket like this. So in this function, it is where I'm going to put the logic of saving. So I want to print here and say print and pass something called time to save. Good. So I want to make sure that if someone clicks on this register, whether it will call this. Okay, and remember here we're just initializing the name, the last name, and then you're trying to save here. So I just simply put click. You see, you can see in the console it is calling this function of saving. So we have already demonstrated how to initialize the database, how to do all those things in our previous classes. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to be reusing the code that we have done, and then I just explain it so we can save what? We can save time. If you feel like you're not understanding, then the previous lecture is there that explain how you can install the package of Sqflite and how you can create a what? You can create a record offline. In fact, I've already demonstrated all that. Alright, so I'm just going to come here to this movie model. We have a function called save movie. In this save movie, we are going to just follow the steps that we followed here. This save movie can even save external movie, something like that. Alright, so we're just going to simply say the first thing that we're going to begin with is to initialize the database, right? We're going to begin by initializing the database. So I'll open this, I'll copy this. So I'll come here and remove this print save and then put database. So you can see I'm taking you step by step here. Database equals to await. So here you have to put asynchronous because it's going to take time. Await equals to await utils dot opendb. So this utils is just my what? My class. Okay, it's nothing but a class. So if you press Ctrl and click here, you'll see we created a class called utils. All right, this one here, it is nothing but a class like what you just did on top there. Okay, we'll just be putting our common functions that we need, utilities. Okay, so in this class we have one thing called what? One thing called OpenDB. This OpenDB is just nothing but starting our database. Okay, open database and then put the name of the what? Of the database. That's all, and then returns for you the what? The database itself. So this is the function for OpenDB. So you can write it. So let me go back. I just simply say OpenDB and then I save it into the database item like this. So here you need to have Sqflite installed in your app. in your package, in your pubspec.yaml, right? So after doing that, the next thing, after we open the database, we're going to first check, did this database, initialize the tables, okay? Initialize the table, and then we check if this table was successfully initialized or not. So let me go ahead and do that. So I just simply copy this and paste it here after initializing the database, right here. Okay, so this is supposed to be a string. Just simply put string like that, and then come here. So the other one was called movie. So I'm going to call this one what? Model.user.init table, and then you give it table. So initialize table or init table, it is a function that we're going to create ourselves that is going to help us to make sure that the table of users is started. Okay, so how do you init table? I already have some kind of function here. Okay, I'm going to copy it and I'm going to explain everything line by line without skipping any line. Okay, so don't be worried. So I'm going to come here. Init table is not here in the users. I'm just going to paste it here. Let me explain everything step by step. So the first thing, it is just a static future string init table. This is just my own naming. Okay, so it's static means that it can be even accessed before someone initializes the body, the object. Then future means this future means this function is going, it can delay, it's going to delay. Okay, it's going to take time. It is not a function that you're going to call on fly, like there you can say 1 + 1 and then the system gives you the response without delaying. So when you say future, you promise that hey, this function is going to delay, but however, even if it delays, it will return something called string, or it will start something in the format of what? In format of a string. That's what I meant by these three things. This one means that this function, you can call it without initializing the what? Without initializing the object. Future means that you're promising that hey, even though you're calling this function, it can delay. And then string means that hey, even though it delays, it returns something that is in a form of what? In form of grade. In form of what? In form of string. That is why you see here we are putting the word await. Await means that hey, we are calling you, but please take your time. We are waiting for you. So when you say you are waiting for you, then you have to what? To receive it here. So every function that calls something that is going to await, it has what's called asynchronous. So asynchronous is also showing that this function is not going to be like straightforward, like they add 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. Okay, it's going to take some time. It's a synchronous function. All right, other things can be operating, but this one can be will take its time, right? So that's what I mean by this. This is a static, can be accessed without initializing. Object future means that it will take time and is informing you. Then this string, it is promising you that even though I take time, I'll have to return you something in string. And then init the table, it is nothing but a name of a method. You can call this one anything that you want. Then I open bracket and I say database, and then I put db. So database db, everything that I put here is that I'm expecting you to give something. So if you call me, you must give me the what? The database. All right, so that I should be able to do what? To operate my things. So that's why you see here when you say users.initdb, we are giving it what? The database. So if I remove this database, it will cry. It will tell you, hey, I need a database, so I cannot work without it. So I have to pass to it this database. So I hope you understand there. Then asynchronous. Asynchronous means it can work in background as other things are working. Okay? Or means this function is implementing what? Await. Or it has things that has to wait, or things that can take time. Alright, so after doing that, I open my curly bracket. So it is up to you how you want to do it. So for me, my design is, if there is no any error, I'll return for you an empty string, which I call response. I'll return for an empty string. So if there is an error, something did not go right, I'll be able to stop wherever I stopped, and then I return you the reason why things don't go right. So for you from your side, you'll just simply saying, if I return you an empty string, no, everything is all right. If I return you something, a string that is not empty, just know something is not right. Go ahead and stop whatever you're doing and then display or work on what I've just sent you back. That is the simple logic that I'm doing here. So here I'm saying, if I'm saying that the response is going to be nothing by default. I first check, is this database that you've given me, is it a valid database? Isn't it a null? So if it is a null, I just say, I put store in this response, I say fail to initialize database. I stop from there, and then I return for you to use something. That's why here you have to wait for something that I'll give you. So if you know my architecture, you will be able to know that, hey, this function, if it returns something, then you know things did not go right. So you see, that's how I'm handling it. So the first thing I check is the database right, the database not null. If it is null, send it back and say fail to initialize the database, or you can put here any reason that you want to put. Then after, I create the SQL. So this SQL, as you can see, it is we call it init database. It is working init table. It is working on the what? On the logic of initializing the table of this particular what. So I created an SQL that's going to create a table for what? For users. So I can simply put here a static function. So if I don't want to repeat myself, like for example, table name of users, I don't want to repeat myself, I can write it only once by just simply putting here static and then say string and then say table underscore name equals to users. Okay, you can say users table, or you can call it anything that you want. So let me call it users. So it means that this table is going, this variable, it can be referenced at any point at any time. So after here, let's come back to SQL. So SQL is going to be create table if not. This if not is very important. If you leave it, then it will be crashing. So I'm just saying, if this table of users is not existing, please create it. If it exists, don't create it. That's what it meant by if not. All right. So I'm going ahead and say, I go ahead and say create table if not exist, and then I put the table name, which is users. You can call it directly if it is already there. All right. So create table if not exist users. Okay. Then I go ahead and attach on the SQL, and I attach, I open the bracket. Okay, and then say ID. So of course you have an ID. It's going to be an integer. It's going to be a primary key, and then you can also put something called auto increment. Auto increment. Let me see. I don't want to make wrong spelling. Not very good at spelling. I'm good. Alright, so you say auto increment. You can even be in capital letters. Okay, auto increment. So what does this mean? It means that this ID will automatically be increasing. Okay, that's the first SQL. Then you go ahead and put another. This is just nothing but SQL. Okay, it's nothing but SQL. Okay, so I go ahead and put name. So it's going to be name, since you have the name. All right, name, and then our name type, it will be text. Okay, and then another thing we have password, and password will also be text. Then I can remove this other thing that I don't want. This is nothing to do with Flutter or what. This is just a simple logic of writing a what? Of writing a table, of creating a table. All right, it's a simple SQL of how to create a table. ID is an integer primary key, and so it increments, and then it will have the name, which is going to be text, and password is going to be text, and then you close the brackets. That is how you create a table. So in case the table does not exist, this logic will be able to do what? To create the table of users. If it exists, it will skip it. All right, good. So now you put here db.execute SQL. So I surround it with the try and catch. This is how you write try and catch. So try means that you should try to do this. If there's an error, you should get an error and give it to you here. All right. So I say try. You should try to create this table. So if it fails, it will execute this other bracket. So when it fails, I just simply again use the other response. You remember this response, and then say response failed to initialize the table. So I put here the table name. All right. Fail to initialize the table, or fail to start in the table. You can write anything at once. Then because, so the reason to why that thing failed, they'll always give it to you in this what? In this string. I mean in this E, okay? So to E. So maybe the table already exists. Maybe your database is having some problem. Maybe your SQL is not right. So the reason will always be given to you to this. That's why you use try and catch. So you can simply use this one. So I just simply say because E dot to what? To string, and then I return the response. So it means that if everything is successfully created, this response will always be nothing. As you can see, this is the place where you're creating the SQL, and we have not touched the response if we have not fallen into any error. So the response will be nothing. Okay. So that is a logic of how you can initialize your database. So you can make your database as big as you want, with 10 fields, with 15 fields, with 20 fields, with 30 or 100, as big as you want. Me, I'm just giving you the perception of how you can get the database. All right, so after doing that, I'm going to check if this response is not empty. So if it is not empty, I know that the way I told you, I will know that things are not Things are not right. If it is empty, then I know everything is is good. So I'll go ahead and just come and cheat from here. So I hope I've explained those steps and you've understood them. So I'll just go ahead and check if it's not empty. I just say it has failed, right? Let me put here my function for failing. So I check if the response is not empty. I just make something called util.toast, and then I put response and then say its success is false. This is a function that we created ourselves. Okay, this is a function that we created ourselves. It is used for creating a pop-up or a toast message. If you want to know how it works in details, watch the previous video. I'll explain to you how it works. So I check if the response is not empty. I just simply stop immediately and just display the message that has come in the response. So if it is empty, if it is empty, then I can maybe simply make here a simple toast and then say database is initialized successfully. Okay, maybe you can say table initialized successfully. All right, successfully, something like that. All right. So I'll make the toast in case it passes here. All right, let's go ahead and do this. Click table initialized successfully. That is beautiful. So our table has been created. So that is very, very beautiful. So go ahead and try. Okay, if it doesn't work, they'll give you the reason in here. Okay, so it can become challenging for the first time, but don't give up because it's not impossible. We are humans like you, and we are already doing it. So if you get these challenges, they're just temporary. We'll stay focused, stay trying. You'll be able to do what? To understand and be able to do something like this. All right, you see? Initialize successfully. So the next thing is now we're going to do what? To do now the saving, okay? So saving of data. I'll just again go to our movies and then I'll go ahead and convert our item to JSON, okay? So I'm going to convert our this is forget movies, save movie. All right, so after doing that, now after making sure that the table is initialized successfully, I'm now going to save the movie. Let me copy this and I'm going to explain it also. So here we are. I hope you're together. So in this level, I'm going to explain this. So here we are saying db.insert. db.insert is a function that initializes, inserts the data into the database. You can watch our previous video if you want to understand. So here I specify the table. So I'm not using the movies table. I have to make sure that I put the right table, which is the table name that is here on top that you already put. All right. After specializing the table, I call the function that is going to convert this object into what? Into a JSON. All right. So I'm going to create a function that can convert that can convert a certain object to a what? To a JSON. So JSON is a structure language that can organize the things in form of a key and a detail, or the description of that key. So let's go ahead and create the function for converting something into JSON. All right. So it is just simple. You just simply come here in the bottom here, okay, and write map string, and then you can put also string. If you're not expecting something in front, you can put string and then string, and then you say to JSON. All right, to JSON. So after you say return, and then you put the thing that you want to convert to JSON in form of a key and a what? After opening curly bracket, in form of a key and text. So I'll come here and call this one name. So name, I come here and put name. So it means that this name of this object will be filled here as a name. I put comma, then I come here and put what? Password as what? As password. And then maybe one most important thing, ID as ID. All right. So it means that the value of ID will be saved there. Since I see now I put dynamic here. Since an ID can become a string, can become it's not a string, so you have to put here what? You have to put dynamic. All right. So yeah, that's it. I think that's it. Yeah. So this is a simple function that converts this object, the object of this data, to what? To JSON. You get it? I hope you get it. Okay. So that is how we convert data to what? To JSON. So you can see it is a very simple thing. It is just a key, okay, and then the value, the key and the value, the key and the value. So when you call to JSON, it will convert whatever you want into this format, okay, and then it means now our DB here, or is it? When you are putting insert, it's going to call this, and then it's just going to simply substitute these values to here, and we'll see it is kind of straightforward. It's going to get things that are in the column of ID and put them in ID. The things that are in the column of name, we put them in the name, and then the things that are in the column of password, and put them in what? In password. Okay, so it's to JSON. So db insert dot table name, and then you say to JSON. So it's going to get these values and convert them and make them to JSON, and then you write what do you want to work as the conflict resolution. Conflict resolution is in case there is same things with same IDs. How do you want them to be resolved? Do you want to replace? So if let's say that you want to update, okay, someone has come with the same ID. So if you want to replace it, you have to put dot replace. So you can as well say maybe dot fail. So if you say dot fail, it means that it will make a what? It will crash. Or you can put dot ignore. Maybe it should what? It should ignore it. So the most active thing is to use dot replace. So it can, so that this method can also be used by what? By updating. Okay. So it means that if you send something that has an ID, it will be replaced. So if it reaches here, it means that it will have done what? It will have successfully saved this data into the database. If it reaches the other side, it will note it failed to do what? It failed to save the data into the what? Into the database. So you see here, when it reaches here, I'm resetting my what? My response, and make sure it is at nothing, it's at 0. So that whoever called this function will be just checking. If the response is 0, you know everything is good. If it is not 0, just know things are not what? Things are not what? Things are not right. Alright, so that is the function of saving. I hope you've been following and watching very carefully. If you're kind of confused, you can just simply put the video back and then follow again, because of course things are not simple. Alright, so I want now to promise here that I'll be returning a what? A string. Okay, so I'll just simply put here future and then put string like this, and then I go ahead string, and then I go ahead and what? And make sure that I return, okay, the response. Like this. So I hope you now understand. So here it's not supposed to be just written like this in case. All right, so I hope you understand now. Okay, so here open the database. I check if the response is not right. I just return back the response. After I do what, I db init. Okay, I initialize the table. I've shown you how to initialize the table. If it does not exist, that is very important. Okay, and then do some, yeah. So that's how you implement. So all right, now let's go ahead and now really save this something into the database. So I'll copy this .save and then come to our to our register form. So since it's going to take time also, we're going to just simply say maybe string.results, or you can call response, equals to await, because we're going to do what? To take time. So I'll have to add here also what? Async. So I'll just simply put if the result is not empty, I'll just simply say utilities dot what? Dot toast. First import the utility and say failed to save. Please try again, and then I return because that's failed. So I'm just first checking if the string is not empty. So if it's empty, I cannot use the register successfully. Utils.toast and say user registered successfully. All right, so okay, so let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so I save. All right, so if I click on save, we should expect user registered successfully. So I hope you've been following. User registered successfully. So what does that mean? It means that it has successfully put the data of the user into our table. That is very nice. Okay, now you know this was just a dummy user. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to do what? We are going to do right now. We are going to do what? We're going to now collect the data from the form. Okay, so I'm just going to copy. I'm going to create a public. Okay, let's go ahead and create the data from the form. So we're going to just copy this one and then remove this return. Okay, so we'll first do the validation. All right, you can also as well do the validation by yourself by checking the things are not empty. Remove this. Let me remove this guy. I don't need it. This is just a table for validation. This is just a logic for validation. If it does not validate, we'll stop from here. If it validates, we'll go ahead and save the user. All right, we'll go ahead and save the user. Right, saving logic. Results that await user dot save here, like this. Like this. I hope you are together. Okay, so let's go ahead and now create this. Remove this. Let's go ahead and create this public model. I'm going to put it here so that it can be accessed at a long wide range. Okay, so he's just on top. So I want when someone will be typing here the name, it should be collecting the name. So how do we do that? We just simply come to first name. So I put here the function called onChanged listener, right? So this onChanged listener will take a string or something in the middle, and then you open bracket and put like that. So this onChanged listener, onChanged listener, it will be giving you the data. Someone should mute. All right.
We had like this and so on. So it's resting a bit. The semester is closing up to the end of the semester.
Someone should mute.
29, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, someone should mute. I don't know. It's distracting us. Okay. Okay, so we are here, right? We are here. Sorry about that. We are here. So I was saying that we want to be collecting the name, eh? So here it has something called on change listener. I want like every time something changes, I should be able to collect the name. So I can just simply say, now remember I've put our user model outside here. Okay, or I can call it maybe new user, something like that. So you can. So I want every time something change, I get the name. So I just simply say new user dot name equals to, I just get whatever they are giving me here to string, and then I say x to string. You can call it anything, okay? So it means that every time this changes, this name is what is saved here. So you can also give it maybe initial value. Say initial value should be the name always. All right. So I hope you understand that. All right. So I can copy this same thing and come and put it on what? On username. So I can just simply put here username. Oh my God, we forgot to put username. How comes you guys did not remind me? All right. Oh my God. Okay. How should we do that? To add the name in the table is kind of tricky. Okay, let's go ahead and add it. Oh, you should you should use name as username. Let's use name as username. I'll show you how to add data in the table another day. So we are going to use name as username. Is it nice? I don't know. Okay, let me show you how I can add. So I'm going to put here username, right? So username, let me add it here. So after password text, I'm going to put username and set text. All right. Yeah. Don't forget to add it in the JSON. How did I forget username, you guys? And kept quiet. So I put here username. I think that's okay. Now, when we try to save, it will fail because username was not there. Okay, I'll show you how we will solve that. All right. So I'll come here and say that username equals to x dot username. All right. So after doing that, you copy it. So the initial value should always be username. I'll go ahead and copy that, and then lastly, come and put password. On save should be password. All right. So after doing that, then we come to this guy and then put dot save here. Save here. So I can see, you can see I'm waiting. If it's not empty, I say it will failed, and then user to be registered successfully the other way around. So save. So when I save and click on register, of course it will ask me to enter my full name, Peter Kiza, username Peter, password 1234. Okay, register. This password is too long. 456. Register. You see, failed to register. So you can know the reason. Okay, failed to register. Let me just say failed to register, and I put the reason. So the reason will be in these results. So I can say failed to register because. So you know the reason. Save. I don't know why it keeps on resetting this. Register. Because movies. I'm seeing something called movies. All right, let's go back. The word movies. It's on there. Failed to register because. Let me just put the reason only. Failed, and then I put the reason. All right. Save. Of course, you know the reason is because the username is not there in the table. So table users has no something called username. So you have to create a value for username. So if you're going to release another update for your application, what you do there, you may need to first delete the local database, or you may need to change the the table name, or you change the table version. Okay, so you just simply go to the table version and change it. Okay, so there it will be able to do what? To add that username. Or you can just simply change the table name here if you want it to affect only this one. So I can call, for example, my table as table name users1. Okay, or the other way around, you can go to the database itself, open DB here, and then go to this one. Maybe you can now say Flutter, learn Flutter DB1. So if you go ahead and update all the tables, okay, something like that. So let me do the simple one. Or you can also delete the table first. You can drop it. Okay, you can drop it and then create a new one. So to drop a table, I can go ahead and do that also. If it's under development for the first time, let's go ahead and drop the table. So to drop the table here, the SQL will be db.execute, and then say drop table, and then you specify the table, which is going to be table name. So it's going to delete the table and then create a new one. Okay, something like that. And then remember to comment that. So yeah, those are different ways of how you can update your table. Drop the one that you had and then add the one that you had. So register successfully. All right, because we first deleted the table. So let me go ahead and comment that. So yeah, now we're good. So someone can register. So I'll go ahead and come here and register Peter John, password Peter, and then username Peter, and then password 1 2 3 4, then 5 6. Oh my god, 5 6. Click register. You see, register successfully. Now we have not checked if the username already exists on the database or not. Okay, before we register, we have not done all that logic. We want also, when someone registers, it should log them in automatically and then make them proceed to the what? To the home screen. We are going to do that. We want also, if you're already logged in, again, when you go back, you should not be able to see this registration screen. We're going to also do that. So by putting all these things together, you'll be able to see that you're getting a lot of experience that you can use and link together and be able to learn some and be able to come up with something really great. So we have finished the registration logic. In the next session, we're going to look at how now we can do what, how we can see does someone already exist on our database before we register them. Is the username already taken, something like that. Then we'll also look at the logic of how can we log in someone automatically after they have registered and then let them proceed to the home page. Also, we'll also look at if I'm registered, I don't need again to come back to the home page. I want just to be something like that. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at in the next lecture. Let's go have a cup of water, and then we come at 1:10, 10 past 1, and then we have our last session of 10 past 7. Not 1. Then we have our last session of what? Our last session of 40 minutes. Yeah, Muslims can go and pray for like 10 minutes. So exactly 10 past 7, we should all be back for our last session. Bye-bye. Let's go ahead and have a short break of 13 minutes. So 10 past, we should all be back for the last session.